Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And today I'm testing the Model 3 Highland. I honestly think in this colour with the redesign, this is a fabulous looking thing, right? Tesla's got a bit of a love and hate thing. I know that with some people, but I mean, that's good. That looks really tidy. And the interior, a whole world of improvements versus the last car that I drove just before Christmas when I had a Model 3 loaner. The first thing you notice when you get in is there is now this LED light bar which runs from the back all the way around the front and then around the back again. And if you want to, you can fiddle around with what that actually looks like. So I can change it to any colour I like. I quite like the red because obviously this is in the new Ultra Red, which is a fabulous looking colour. But I mean, I can sit and customise it to basically anything I like. This is fun. Let's put it back to red. Red suits it rather well. So this is a I love the thing here, current drive 673 watt-hours per mile. That's because it's been to the washing station and back. So this is a single motor standard range as I understand it. So it's not dual motor like mine, so it's going to be a little bit different in terms of performance, but as I understand it, everything is better already. The seats are better. The center console is, I mean, compared to the one that I drove last time, this is really nice, man. And all of the materials are nice, right? Okay, you can drum on that, but it's soft, it's furry. You know, we've got rid of the wood and got Alcantara-like material. I'm saying like material because I don't know whether it is Alcantara or not. You know, that is already better. You know, if we go on to the bottom of the thing, that is squidgy plastic. You know, that's been scratchy plastic on previous ones, but that's now squidgy, that's squidgy, that's squidgy. So, you know, everything is better. The exciting thing is that thanks to Andy at Tesla Aberdeen, I've got this car until tomorrow. So it's now 4 o'clock and I don't need to hand it back until tomorrow morning. Let's go have some fun. So already the graphics look completely different on this versus my Model Y, but then again, my Model Y has got parking sensors, so I am not reliant on Tesla Vision. If you've got Tesla Vision on your Tesla, you're already used to seeing this kind of thing. I, on the other hand, am not. So this is already looking a little bit different, and that's good. It's fun. We like different. The steering is ridiculously light compared to my Model Y. Well, I say ridiculously, it's not. The steering is lighter than my Model Y, but it would be because it's a smaller car. That's not really a surprise, but you do feel nice and hunkered down, and obviously I don't get that driving the Y. You're much higher up. I prefer higher up, but this feels sporty. First time on the indicators, and of course it will cancel. Whoa, did you see the cameras? The vision of the image coming off the cameras was absolutely brilliant. That looked fantastic. Hang on, let's put the cameras on. Compared to mine, that looks fabulous. So there's been significant software improvements on the cameras, but the hardware on this car, I believe, has got improved cameras fitted. They certainly look better, a lot better. So first impressions as we go along here at 30 miles an hour is, as it goes over these bumps, the way it handles those imperfections is definitely better than my Model Y. Now, that doesn't surprise me particularly because this is a lighter car and it's on 18-inch wheels versus my 19, but even so, it's interesting to feel because they are saying quite a lot of things about how the suspension has been improved in this car. It's certainly quiet. You know, this finally has got double glazing all around. My Model Y has double glazing all around, but previously the 3 didn't have it. I might have to remember which button does which still a little bit. Although this is just changed to a 60 limit, I don't think I'd necessarily want to do 60 down here because it's still quite narrow and twisty. So I know I've only been doing 2 miles so far, so I've barely left the Tesla Centre, but my average is 174 watt-hours per mile, which is quite low. I know it's a Model 3, and I know it's got the LFP battery pack, which means it used to being quite low, but that's still quite impressive. It's now 154. One point already is there is no option, it would seem, for me to be able to change the regen mode. So I can't go from hold, which this is full 1-pedal driving. I can't go from that to creep to roll. It will not let me. There simply is no option to do so, which is interesting, really interesting, because I have had 1-pedal drive tests on my Model Y, and I didn't like it. So it'll be interesting to see how I get on with this. I mean, look, for going around town and things, I entirely get it. It's just that in my case, I quite like that last little bit of control below 5 miles an hour. Plus also, this means that I need to have the accelerator pedal going to reverse backwards down my... Oof, that was a big old pothole, but again, it was okay. But I need to have the throttle pedal going to reverse down my driveway, which is a little bit on the freaky side the first time you do it. So the Model 3 that I borrowed back in November or whenever it was, when my car was in as a loaner, that felt primitive. Exciting because it was insanely fast, but the interior was a little bit low rent. This already feels much more high value than it was. So if I press the wiper button, the wiper menu still comes up the way that it does. The buttons are definitely giving some kind of resistance. I don't think there's a... Actually, no. I think there is a physical button there, because it's not just haptics. Something is happening when I'm pressing it. Okay, so that comes to a halt all by itself. Good, we're still in that. I want to do display. I want to go to dark mode. I just think it looks better. I'm used to having dark mode, and light mode's a bit... So that's better. I can see that the headlights are on far more clearly in this than I can the other one. Already, just looking at the graphics for the pedestrian, I can see the pedestrian further... Well, it's just disappeared off there now, but I could see the pedestrian further away than I think I'd be able to do based on my car. Also, it's showing this cone here. I can look out the window and it's kind of by the mirror over there, but it's showing it here. So the Tesla Vision software is picking that up and remembering where it is and mapping it onto there. So that's what I suspected would happen, because this is the first Tesla Vision car I've actually driven. Every other one I've had has had a suite of parking sensors, and of course this does not. But it is remembering where these things are, which I assume is how it knows where it is when you've got to do things like parking. It can't see the thing that's below, because the camera pod is up here, so it can't see them once it dips below the line of the bonnet, but it'll remember that they are there. So honestly, the ride quality on this car, it's night and day versus the previous Model 3. Now, I still think that as a used bargain, you can't beat it for, what was it, around 25,000 quid to buy a Model 3 with the acceleration boost on the twin motor. A preposterous rocket ship of a car, and it does 90% of the things that this one does. So I still think they're a great buy used, and also it shows that they're not actually depreciating remotely as quickly as all of the skeptics seem to be insisting that they are, because that's what I keep reading. How much money have you lost? Well, until you actually realize depreciation, you haven't lost anything. Also note the green flash on this bus. It is electric. We have got electric double-deckers in Aberdeen. We've also got some hydrogen buses in Aberdeen. Basically, as a city, we are trialing all of these different ways of powering vehicles, but these electric buses go up to the airport and things like that, and I think it's great. We need more of these things, because if it's going around a city, why on earth wouldn't you want it electric? So instead of that sitting there chugging out all of that pollution, this is much cleaner. And I see stuff in the comments that talks to me about saving the planet and environmentalism and all of those other things. Yes, those are fine. I don't make much of a play on that, because for me, that isn't why I have a Tesla. That isn't, you know, that's not the primary driver. But cleaner air in cities, we all need that, surely. As we sit here at the lights, I am just, again, looking at the graphics, and then also seeing that, you know, it's showing me the little car symbol here and an arrow pointing forward. So it's just reminding me that it's in drive. And it is in drive because there's a D here, or I could press to park, P to go into park up there. It's all relatively intuitive. I believe there are also light up controls here by the hazard light and the dome lights, where you can manually select one of the drive modes. We'll have to have a look at that one later on after we've parked up. Again, I've just gone through a deep pothole, and the ride through it was fantastic. Genuinely, this feels so good to drive. Right, I was just reaching, did you see that? I was reaching for an indicator stalk and there isn't one there. So that was the first time I've had that. I'm there feeling for the indicator stalk and there isn't one. Then I remembered, oh, it's the buttons. And then, how can I put this? If you sit and drive with your hands at 10 to 2, then okay, you've got to move your hand down. If you drive with your hands at 2:45, and you are supposed to have both hands on the wheel, guys, but if you drive like this, the buttons are here. They're just underneath where your thumb sits. And it's the bottom one for left and the top one for right. And I don't even need to look at that, it's just there. So I'm sure with a little bit of remapping of muscle memory, you'd be able to get used to this thing fairly quickly. No idea why the wipers are coming on, other than the usual dispossessed idiocy which goes with auto wipers on Tesla. So I don't need to indicate, but I'm going to do so anyway, just for courtesy, and also to test how easy it was with the button. And honestly, it's absolutely fine. Like I said, it's just within reach of your thumb. And of course it auto cancels, which is the other point. So I am going to need to move to go into the left-hand lane at some point, because we go up the hill and only the left-hand lane turns left. Again, we've just gone down a big pothole, and it rode through it really rather beautifully. There's also no rattles of any description that I can hear in here, none. So versus Model Y can be a little bit rattly at times, usually with loose bits of trim or badly designed bits of trim. This doesn't feel like there's anything like that, which is already quite a big improvement. So this guy looks like he's trying to mate with a car in front, but I'm going to have to go and stick in the lane behind him, because I need to make sure that I'm in the correct lane for my route up ahead. Again, no problem at all. You just reach your thumb down. You know, I have to reach my fingers out for the stalk. Yeah, you saw me feeling for it earlier. There's much less movement needed to be able to just push the button. So already it's better. And as we go around this bend, right, so I now want to change. So I've literally just moved my thumb again to be able to switch it from one lane to the other. Okay, so that was quite a tight bend, so I did have to wait until the steering wheel came back, but it's not a problem. It really isn't a problem, and I think it's going to be intuitive very, very quickly. And chatting with one of the guys in the Tesla showroom, he'd driven this car to Inverness and back, and said he got used to the buttons really rather quickly. So that's just auto cancelled itself, which again is absolutely fine. I'm watching for the guy behind me, and then I want to go left. So yeah, I had to reach up a little bit, but I'd probably need to do that anyway to be able to get the steering wheel back again. And I just felt then my finger reaching out for the stalk. I'll get used to that. And I know there'll be people saying, but why should you have to get used to it? Because aren't we used to where the stalks are? Well, yes we are. But they weren't always there, and there are already cars where it's on the wrong side. So the Maxus T90 electric pickup truck, which I very, very, very nearly pushed the button on, that has the indicators on the right hand side. I remember we had a Hyundai Getz back in 2005 that had the indicator stalk on the wrong side. You get used to it, you just remember where it is. We're going to be here for a while anyway because of the pedestrian crossing. Again, it's picking up the pedestrians rather nicely, and it's got a complete map of all of the cars around. This is something that unless you've got a Tesla, you just don't get this. Not that way, not with the level of clarity and understanding that you get. So it's press and hold to make the wipers start squooshing the screen, which I suppose I expected really, because it's the same press and hold the button on the end of the stalk, except it's a button now. That's fine. The same usual slightly demented, possessed by Satan thing that they do. Again, not really a surprise. You can stop now. Right, and we can go now. So, I can hear something diesel off to my side as he goes through his gears and his rev ranges, whereas I just go and then hit the my effective speed limiter of 30, obviously, as we go up here. It's just quite funny hearing somebody else going, "I need to go, can I go please?" and having to wait for the drivetrain to actually propel them forward. Of course, I don't have any of those problems. Yep, go for it. Had to remember where the flasher button was. It's just on the inside of the wheel, so you've got the two indicators there, the flasher's over here. Again, I'll remap and learn where it is. It is interesting driving up here and just hearing this growling diesel noise off to my left as the car who's been doing quite a good job of pacing me just sits there going up and down through his rev range and through his gears, sounding like a tractor. I know I've talked about this on a couple of videos and certainly in the comments. Once you have had an electric motor as your drivetrain, you never want to go back to gears, ever. It doesn't matter how good the gearbox is. You never want to go back to mechanical gearbox once you've had electric motors, because these are so smooth and always in the correct gear and always with maximum power available at any given time. It's just the better drivetrain. This is just standard Tesla goodness. We are going along, let's change lanes, on autopilot. The buttons are not causing me any issues. I could put the camera suite on. The colour and the resolution on the cameras is better than in my car. My car has had improvements that are software driven. As I said, this has got better hardware on the cameras. That really does look a whole world better now. I'm going to change lanes again because there is a van coming up which I want to make sure I am ahead of, because otherwise I am going to be stuck behind them. Yes, I know, don't worry. I'm going to be stuck behind them in a queue of traffic. So it's a double push on the right hand button to put autopilot back on. Yeah, nice and easy. So, with the odd exception, I already feel like I'm used to the right positioning for these steering wheel buttons. I don't think they're a problem. And I think a lot of the people making a fuss about the lack of stalks need to try it. And we're back to me just being appreciative of the fact that the suspension is definitely soft. Yes, I have got more sidewall on these tyres because I am on 18s rather than 19s, but the suspension is definitely softer. And
I've said in the past about doing, you know, a Model Y family edition or something. Just dial everything down. I think this does it. You know, I'm sure this is quick, but it's not rip your face off quick, which is most definitely an improvement. And because it isn't rip your face off quick, you don't need the stiffer suspension to be able to manage it. At the moment, and this is the end of January 2024 if you're in the future, must be exciting in the future, but right here, right now, you cannot buy a Model 3 Performance in the UK. They have not yet released the updated Model 3 Performance. There are rumours circulating that they're going to do a Model 3 Plaid instead of just Performance, and I believe there is a right-hand drive one somewhere on the west coast of America that has been photographed for some bizarre reason in San Francisco. So this is just the standard range single motor car. It should have softer suspension because it doesn't need all of that craziness. And you know what? This is comfortable. This really is comfortable. Now, you can see my wipers. I have no clue why my wipers are going because they really don't need to. What I'm going to do is turn them off because at the moment I'm not going to be using Autopilot for a little while. So I'm just going to turn them off to shut them up. What on earth? One thing I've noticed immediately, so like there, it's in drive and it's on auto hold. So basically it auto holds the brake. You don't have to do anything, the brake is on. In my car, as you come off the auto hold, there's kind of a as it moves forward. So you can feel it disengage that. Now, at the moment, I'm not feeling that at all. It's very, very smooth. You don't need to shout at the vehicle in front. I have seen the vehicle in front and I'm miles back from it. So it's very smooth the way that it releases the brake and moves on to drive, and that's quite impressive. So again, remember that it's a button. I think once you get used to that, it just becomes intuitive. It's reach for the steering wheel. And I've read a few comments saying, oh, but you have to reach for it. Well, hang on a second. You have to reach for the steering wheel depending on what you're doing, because that's how you drive. It isn't really any different. I spent a few days last week driving a massive minibus, 5.3 meters long, monster of a thing. And that's going to get mentioned in a forthcoming video. But all I can say is, I'm glad I'm not driving that now, but it also really showed me that the Cybertruck is too big for... right. The Cybertruck is too big for the UK. Too big. So there's no point arguing for, can we have it here, please? 5.8 meters long and more than 2 meters wide. It's gargantuan on these roads. Some of the places that we drive through, it just won't fit, and that's it. So we are on actually quite a twisty road, and that van in front of me is not hanging around, which is good because I don't want to get held up. And we're basically going to follow this road home and see what the road holding is like. So into a 60, so we'll speed up a little bit more. Okay, I have got really good feel through the steering wheel and through my bottom of what's going on beneath me. The car is not jiggly and not crashy through an undulating surface, if I'm honest, the way that my firmer suspension Model Y is. Now, I actually quite like a softer suspension, so I'd have to drive a Model Y long range refresh as and when that comes out, which I think is next year. I'd have to drive that and see if it really refines the formula. But already, you know, this is good, and it's the usual nippy steering. You can, you know, point this car into a corner and press the pedal and it will just keep going. And remember that this is a rear-wheel drive car. It's single motor, but it's rear-wheel drive. And what that means is that as you back off in a corner and the car starts to regenerate, the motor pulling you is on the back. So it pulls the car as you're going through the corner, which actually tightens you up. So there's no lift-off issues when you're driving an electric car in a spirited manner. I can't drive spirited now there's traffic in front of me, but I'm just saying that the way that this handles through corners is not only very predictable, but it's also a huge amount of fun. There are some bends coming up, so once I get up towards those, I'll back off a little bit, which will probably annoy the guy behind me who seems to want to mate with me, and we'll hoon it through the corners a little bit just to actually test that. Okay, we've got a few more twists. Okay, not mega twists actually. Yeah, here we go. So that's a reasonable bend. So let's just go ploughing into that. It just carries itself through these bends brilliantly. In fact, it's my 3 Series BMW from what, a decade ago? More? Yeah, 2011. I had a 3 Series BMW, and that handled like nothing else I'd ever driven before. You just threw it into a bend and it kept going and it kept laughing. And this is, I mean, look, I'm sticking power down mid-bend and it's just saying no problem at all. This reminds me of that BMW in terms of the way that it rides and that it handles. It's very well balanced. And that isn't something you can say about my car. My Model Y handles like it's a big old thing, because of course it is. It's a much heavier, taller car, so it's going to be different, and they stiffen the suspension like crazy to try and disguise that. And it does a pretty good job of it, but it's not like this. If you wanted to get a proper driver's car, a proper EV driver's car, then this would be a brilliant choice, because it is so chuckable. It really is. Just out of interest then, so this is the single motor smaller battery pack Model 3, and where were we at? I have done 30 miles now and 227 watt hours per mile. Well, once we actually get through this and I can have a look, that's not the right place, Ian, go there and then here. So how much range is it telling me that I've got? It's the end of January, don't forget. I have got 83% of the battery left, and it's giving me a projected range of 225 miles. That's pretty good. So 225 on a touch over 80%. So you are looking at being able to add another, what, 50 or so onto that. So heading towards a 280 mile range in the winter, that is good. That's more than my Model Y can do. But again, this is a lighter car, so that's not, oh, I love the way it just goes into these bends. It just grips and turns out. I know I'm not absolutely spanking it through these things, but it's 2 degrees. I'm not going to absolutely spank it through them. I'm just talking about the amount of steering feel you get. So let's do something silly. Let's just lift it off here. And again, I can feel it regenerating backwards through the vehicle. And that pulls me into the bend if I'm going slightly too quickly. That is really, really, really useful. Get rid of that. So this is single motor. It's got plenty of power, but I know there's plenty of people who always want more power. So I would absolutely love to drive the plaid version of this when it comes out. I think it would be absolutely insane, because with this chassis, if you really dial the power up, I think you know, the long range with the acceleration boost that I tested was ridiculous, but was probably a bit of a one-trick pony in that, you know, it was like pump fizz with regards to the power. This feels like it's a much better ride than that car did, which means I suspect it would be able to handle more power so much better. What's going on? Oh, okay, yeah, we got a truck turning off into one of the farms. Again, guys, I live in farming country, so it's not really a surprise that we have got trucks and you get loads of tractors, big ones and things like that. So this genuinely would just be an absolute babble of laughs, I think, with 5,000 horsepower or whatever the plaid one is going to get. So we'll press the button for the indicators because we want to turn right here. And again, I'm remembering where they are. I'm probably being a little bit over the top with my actions, but I'm remembering where they are at least. Oh, I think I actually got it to step out slightly there, so I must be careful because it is 3 degrees. But that was very controllable. I mean, a slight touch too much power and then just, dab the wheel over in the opposite direction a little bit and it just came straight back to true again. So again, from a handling perspective, it's controlled. You know what it's doing. There's great feel through the seat and through the steering wheel, and you can have so much fun with it. So 10 out of 10 for me in terms of the way that the thing handles and rides. It is a distinct improvement on what was there already. So fairly straightforward nighttime test with the new slimline headlights. They're very good. This is on main beam and the amount of light that they pump out is still pretty spectacular, and I think the pattern is definitely flatter than the slightly spikier one on the edges that you get with the fatter headlights on the pre-facelifted car. Wow, you can actually see where bits of landslip has happened on this road after the weather and storms that we have had over the last couple of weeks. And again there, a bit more there. It's fine. Anyway, we are going down, down, deeper and down. Let's go to Pennan and wrap the first part of this up. Now, I've gone up and down this cliff and the Crivy cliff a little bit further along the coast several times, testing drive modes and regenerative braking modes and all the rest of it. So it'll be interesting to see what this is like. I would normally have it on creep, and that means that it would keep the car at around 10-11 miles an hour on a hill. I suspect this is actually going to stop, isn't it? So what are we doing? 8, 7, 6, yeah. So I'm in the position where I actually have to apply a bit of throttle to creep down this steep hill. Now this is why I tend not to like this mode in terms of full one pedal driving, but okay, we'll do so. So if I take my foot off completely, what are we doing? 11, 10, yeah, we're just going to slow down again, aren't we? 9, yeah. So you actually find yourself having to put a bit of gas, not that it is gas, but you know what I mean, on as you go down here, and then over speeding slightly and then having to go on the brakes, which it's actually more controlled if you're in one of the other modes. But this car doesn't appear to have the other modes, which is a bit odd. And then even though this car is smaller than mine, I still hold my breath a little bit as you do this last squeeze through the houses. And we're going to go down to the charging point, I think. So past the Pennan phone box. Thank you. Pennan says the number plate, very good. Really quite tight, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll stick it. Whee! So I'm actually ending the video here in Pennan on the far north coast. You might be able to hear the sea behind me, which is always lovely to hear. But I am standing here next to Mr. Model 3 Highland, and this is part one of at least one more video, maybe two, reviewing this car. And what do I think of it so far in the hour and a bit that I've had it? Honestly, it's fabulous. It is a complete overhaul of so many features in
in terms of the way that it drives, the way that it feels, the interior. It's like a completely different car. It is a significant upgrade. And on that interesting note, we are going to leave it there. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Hit the bell icon so you know when my next videos come out. And I'll see you very soon back here on Just Get a Tesla.